House Bill 666 during the last legislative session brought a lot of attention to Idaho's libraries concerning the content available to kids. Allegedly books pornographic in nature, inappropriate for Idaho students to read, that kind of stuff. We detailed this conversation happening across the state, but mostly focusing on the Nampa School District. There, the school board permanently removed a collection of books, 22 of them, that dealt with topics like being a part of the LGBTQ community. As soon as tonight, there is another conversation on this topic in Meridian and their library system. We'll have more on that in just a moment. But Idaho, we're not alone in this situation of critical conversations about removing or banning books from libraries. Other states and communities are seeing similar conversations taking place. Well, there's a library system that has seen this nationwide conversation. They decided they wanted to get involved and promote the free exchange of ideas, which is, after all, what libraries are about. Joe Paris spoke with the chief librarian at the Brooklyn, New York Public Library.
2,000 miles away from Idaho, there's a group working to create more access to controversial books. Books that continue to be at the center of community conversations across our state.
We have 3 libraries in New York City. We have the Brooklyn Public Library that covers just the borough of Brooklyn, all 2.7 million of us here in Brooklyn.
Nick Higgins is the chief librarian for the Brooklyn Public Library in New York, and they serve a New York community that has more people than the entire state of Idaho. The team at the Brooklyn Library is not just concerned, though, about their community, but also readers across the country who are seeing books banned from local libraries because of controversial content. So they created a program to help a demographic who they believe books are vital to, young adults.
This is an intellectual freedom to read initiative by the Brooklyn Public Library. We've been paying attention to a lot of the book challenges and bans that have been taking place, particularly over the last year, in many places across the country. We don't necessarily experience a whole lot of that here in Brooklyn, but we know that there are library patrons and library staff who are facing these, and we wanted to figure out a way to step in and help, particularly for young people who are seeing some books in their library collections that may represent them, but they're being taken off the shelves.
The Brooklyn Public Library is offering a free e-library card to any person aged 13 to 21 across the United States so they can access their large collection of 500,000 digital books and resources. And yes, controversial books being banned and discussed here in Idaho are available for Idaho young adults to access.
What more can we do to actually help out a young person in a community that might not have those responsible adults or those resources to push back against, people who might be a lot more vocal, let's say, or aggressive in promoting a particular ideology that goes against, maybe everything that young person really feels to be true to themselves.
So why is the Brooklyn Library doing this? Higgins says it comes back to what a community library is, regardless of location.
It is a public library represents all of us in a pluralistic society with, we exist with other people, with other ideas, with, other viewpoints and perspectives. And that's what makes a healthy democracy, not shutting down access to those points of view or silencing voices that we don't agree with, but expanding access to those voices, having conversations about ideas that we agree with and ideas that we don't agree with.
Over 4,000 e-cards have been distributed to young adults across the country, including here in Idaho. One Idahoan wrote to the library in Brooklyn about their concerns about one political lens ruling out valuable books. It may be a simple concept, but Higgins explains that removing content that young adults are looking to connect with, especially minority experiences, it sends a powerful message about the community's view of those minority communities.
It really puts everything into context. There are kids out there who have nowhere else to turn, and they're looking for any help that they can get from wherever they can find it. I mean, it's hard enough to be a teenager, but it becomes a lot harder when you feel like your entire community is trying to tell you that your identity doesn't matter.
And if you're wanting to learn more about this program, you can go to the Brooklyn Library's website. We'll have a link on this article when it's uploaded later this evening with some more insight on the program itself. But Brian, it creates a whole conversation about access to books. If a book's not available in a physical library or in a time where children, even young kids, can access devices, and they can get access to different types of content through places like the Brooklyn Library. So it also comes back to the conversation of parental control and making sure you're having a conversation with your children about what they're accessing and what they're reading. And really, it's not just in a vacuum. When a child has an experience and they read something in a book, it doesn't just sit there in the pages. It's always valuable to talk about it at home.
So with kids from Idaho, I assume, getting involved with this and reaching out and getting some books through the Brooklyn Library and stuff. What about, people here in the Gem State who are like, you're invading in our space. This is not up to you. We don't come into our territory. Are they seeing any of that?
Yeah, the Brooklyn Library is getting some pushback from places across the country, not just Idaho. Some comments, stay out of our backyard. But for the most part, Mr. Higgins, who we heard from in the story, he says they haven't gotten too much flack because there's not a lot other people can do about it.
And knowing that anything is available right here, through Amazon, through whatever, you can find pretty much any book at any time. You don't have to actually have a library card, but this just makes it easier.
Yeah, so it's also important to have conversations about the content that your children are reading and what it means in reality.
All right, thank you very much, Joe.